Thanks for coming in, Reverend Dr. J.W. Morrison, theologist, Central Coast, New South Wales, Australia. Let's get to our next proverb. I just want to quickly read to you a list of things that are relative to the sinful nature, because I don't think you can just compartmentalize things that don't suit you automatically into narcissism. I think that's stretching it. But the sinful nature has selfishness, rebellion, carnality. That's all things to do with lust, unwilling to submit to God's will, depraved, hatred, unforgiveness, morally corrupt, uncontrolled fleshly desires. I think this covers a lot of it, viewers. Pride, guilt, hates righteousness, and not born of God. I'll just shift this thing out of the way. We come back to Proverbs. Are you ready? Thank you for coming in. I'm Reverend Dr. J.W. Morrison, theologist. Theology and psychology through theology. I host the ProBrick exclusive channel for tradies and secular people, the Pro Theologist channel for the more people that want divine information or theological information. Proverbs 23, verse number 4, saying number 8, do not wear yourself out to get rich. Be wise enough to restrain yourself. Now, there's nothing worse than being in the devalue stage of a relationship where things are starting to wear away to the point where people are starting to wear out, trying to bring the richness back into the relationship. It's unfair when resolve is possible, but because of selfishness, rebellion, carnality, unwillingness to submit to God's will, and God's will for the relationship. As the relationship deteriorates, it will get depraved, particularly in the bedroom. I think depraved things will start happening. Hatred will be building, resentment and bitterness underneath, unforgiveness. As I said, the morality will go corrupt. Could be a possibility of emotional or physical affairs, or both. Uncontrolled fleshly desires, if things are getting out of hand now. Pride, guilt, a hatred towards what's right. This is the part that is not going to allow things to come in order. And of course, for many of you that are of Christian pedigree, you might need to come back to God and get some things right for yourself. But we wear ourselves out. We put ourselves into the relationship. We go, we've got a steam train going past, viewers. That's a real live steam train in the background. You meet someone and you come into the love bomb phase where they'll mirror what you like. If you like, if you're into religion, they like religion. If you're into motorbikes, they like motorbikes. If you're into sport, yeah, they like sport. If you're into sex, yeah, they like sex. If you're into whatever it is you're into, the people will try and mirror you. I've done this myself. It's not since I've gotten a little bit deeper into narcissism and things that I've realized that I have done this myself. And I'm guilty of it, so I know how it works. And it's a matter of how much you like someone and what lengths you'll go to. I've had partners where they've drank and smoked and things like this, but I've worked in with them to try and see if things will work out. Unfortunately, they didn't work out, and I've changed my values since, but that's all right. It's not a matter of selfishness on your part. It's a matter of adaptability, and sometimes opposites don't attract. Sometimes they do attract. Sometimes they last. Sometimes they don't. But when you meet someone, you will put on a pretty good straight performance. At my age, I don't anymore. I turn up, I am what I am, I present myself as best as I can, and hopefully there's no other agenda with the other person either, and that gives you a fair opportunity to be able to build something rich and wise, to put you in a position where you both are able to stay on top of unresolved or things that need to be resolved, so you don't wear each other out, because unresolved will wear you down. And so coming into the relationship wise will give wisdom opportunity to be the foundation on which the relationship's built on. And therefore restraining from rushing things and restraining from foolishness, you don't put yourself in a position where you're psychologically going to wear out, because this is where relationships collapse. My second wife wore me out. My last girlfriend, by way of triangulation, wore me out. And you just haven't got time to be able to try and deal with that, because if you're not resolving things and you're glancing and hoping that the richness is coming into the relationship, it's funny how quickly things disappear with unresolved. Unresolved's got a way of making things disappear because it's got wings of its own. It takes away the fortitude and resilience of the relationship and flies away into the sky with all the value of the relationship, you see. You can't have a rich relationship with unresolved in it. It just won't work. Or selfishness, or rebellion. There's a lot of people that carry a rebellious spirit. And I've defined it to be opposite directional dysfunction disorder. Everything seems to have this bend towards the opposite of what is going to be righteous. And the carnality and all these other things intertwine and build up together to take the richness out of the relationship. And this is troubling, because when you're investing yourself, and the other person is too, it's not just a one-way street. You're investing yourself, but there's a limitedness somewhere in the relationship. There's an unresolved, and it wears at you. All these words you would have heard in these elements of psychology and how things wear out. They wore me out. They weared at me. It weared at me. He couldn't restrain himself. He couldn't stop himself. He thought he was better than the grandiose reality and fantasy gap. He thought he was so good, but he wasn't. There's no restraint from the things that wear the relationship out. And you're glancing around trying to find answers, trying to find the solutions, but the foolishness in the relationship takes the substance of the relationship away. It all starts to disappear. And this is likened to the devalue phase in a narcissistic case. I'm talking about the sinful nature here in its entirety, which could have several different personality disorders associated with it. Within these categories, I think, this is a spiritual way of defining them and compressing them to keep it very simple. And selfishness, rebellion, carnality, unwilling to submit to God's will, unwilling to come into God's world, morally corrupt. It's amazing, and I have to say this, how sexually deviant things can get as the relationship goes into a demise. And as the relationship starts to disappear, there's all sorts of desperate attempts to try and recover and restore things back to where they were in the love bombing stage, when there was all the future faking and promises and how wonderful we are. I knew when I first met you, right at the start, that you were the one. But the behavior never lined up with that. And as you're glancing to try and find, just glancing around to make sure everything's rich, it's all starting to disappear. It's all starting to devalue. It's all starting to... See, you're in the trauma bond here. This is the trauma bond. Things are starting to demise. The person's behavior is not standing up to the test. They're starting to disappear in their wisdom towards a relationship, their commitment to the relationship, their order in the relationship, responsibility and accountability towards the relationship. Everything's starting to disappear, and I've had this happen to me. And it's the most horrible situation you can find yourself in, because you've done nothing wrong. You're still working hard at work. You're coming home, presenting yourself well. You're covering all your masculinity commitments. And then all of a sudden, the other person's starting to disappear. Not just physically, but emotionally as well. And everything starts to just fly away into the sky. It's like everything that was there at the start's just gone. And you're wearing yourself out. You're psychologically going into deep trauma. There's a collapse. And you've got to be wise enough to restrain yourself from trying to make something work that's not meant to. And sometimes you've got to disappear and remove yourself from situations and people that are just wearing you out. There's no need for any of it, but they're going to wear you out. That person wore me out. Have you heard that saying? They wore me out. I've met a few girls now that have had this in their relationships, where the man, through alcohol, drugs, and misconduct, has just worn them out, completely worn them out. And everything, one way or another, is going to disappear. It doesn't matter how far you glance into the richness of the relationship, how much you hope the wealth of the relationship's still there characteristically, it disappears. You should not waste your energy with somebody that is on the way out. All signs of behavior say they're on the way out. They're telling you they love you and everything, but it's not lining up with their actions. Do not wear yourself out to get rich for something that's gone, that's poor. The relationship has become poor. Be wise enough to restrain yourself from chasing something that has disappeared. I'm Reverend Dr. J.W. Morrison, theologist, Central Coast, New South Wales, Australia. Bye for now.